We stood there, packed like sardines, unable to even stand up in comfort. Men were fast asleep on their feet. Others just stood staring into the cloudless sky. The laddie next to me had checked his rifle and his ammunition over and over again, but apparently still not satisfied. Others just stood and stared, silent as the grave, maybe looking forward. And we still had another hour to wait.
I remember those lads standing there, dead silent, couldn't make a noise. The fellow next to you, he was your best friend, you loved him. You perhaps didn't know him the day before. And then, an hour to go, they were the longest, those hours, and the shortest hours in life.
I never dreamt that even borrowed time could go so slowly. I'd advanced before many times. I wasn't afraid of advance. I didn't like it, but I wasn't afraid of it. But I was afraid. I was afraid of myself. I wondered if I would live long enough to get out of the trench. And if I did, would I have enough puff left in me to cover that 400 yards or so in one mad rush? And if not, would I have enough courage left to rise again and face that rain of lead?
As soon as it was light, we were issued out with a big ration of rum. You could drink as much as you wanted of it. And we were told that we were to be prepared to receive orders to advance at any moment.
Lieutenant Commander Parsons, my company commander. He had a most comforting smile, turned round and says, 5 minutes to go, men. 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute to go, men. Are you ready? Come on, boys, off we go.
Then 5 minutes to go, and then 0 hour, and all hell lets loose. There's our barrage, the Germans' barrage, and over the top we go.
I asked God to help me as I scrambled over the top into that withering fire. Many, many men were killed as soon as they showed their heads and fell back into the trench. Poor old Lieutenant Commander Parsons only got a few yards.
As soon as you get over the top, fear has left you and it's terror. You don't look, you see. You don't hear, you listen. Your nose is filled with fumes and death. You taste the top of your mouth. You're a weapon and you are one. Hunter, you're back to the jungle. The veneer of civilization has dropped away.
The first 200 or 300 yards, there wasn't a great deal of machine gun or any kind of fire. But all of a sudden, they opened on us with terrific machine gun fire.
I felt as if someone kicked me in the chest, and down I went. Later on, I found myself crawling about on the bottom of the trench trying to find my rifle. My face was stiff, and I could only see out of one eye. I eventually got to my rifle, and I realized that all my equipment had been torn to shreds. Apparently, a machine gun sweep had caught me and blew the lot up, and down I went.
The shells were falling left, right, and center. On my left, there was one of our platoons, got a direct hit. The next shell was to the back, and I said, here goes, it's ours next. I was looking out in front, and to this day yet, I can remember seeing a 9.2 falling in front of me, about say about 20 yards. I saw the end of that shell going into the ground. And I just thought, we've had it. But after a pause, all eyes were turned round, and all we heard was a dud.
We all stopped and laid down, trying to get what shelter we could from the tremendous rifle fire which was coming over. And then a sergeant just in front of me jumped up and said, "Come on, men, be British." We jumped up and followed him, and he ran about 6 yards and he went down. Well, we ran on about another 20 yards toward the German trenches. The German trenches were literally packed. They were standing about 4 deep, firing machine guns and rifles straight at us. And they were gradually picking us off. And there was only myself and one other chap that weren't hit.
As we withdrew over the ground that had been captured that day, the sight was incredible. It was just like a flock of sheep lying asleep in a field. And it became evident that the regimental stretcher bearers, who one time had been bandsmen, had been unable to cope with such a huge number of casualties. Quite a number of the men were still alive, and they were crying out and begging for water. They plucked at our legs as we went by. One hefty chap did grab me round both legs and held me. And I was going to take the cork out of my water bottle to give him a drink, and I was immediately prodded on behind by someone saying, get on, we're going to lose touch with the column in front, we shall get lost." In the years that have passed, that man's pleadings have haunted me.
We had no sooner withdrawn ourselves from this shambles and got together what we could than we began to build up the regiment again and get ready for the next time. And this seems to me extremely difficult to explain. Now, I had lost both my officers and all my sergeants and 2/3 of my men. And here I was 20 years old, a young acting captain, and I had to begin to form a new company. Well, to begin with, I was in a state of complete physical and mental prostration. And I think for a few days after the battle, I was very near having a nervous breakdown. But when one is young, physical rest very quickly puts that right. And in quite a few days, I was almost as good as ever. This seems to me very strange. We got a draft of 100 very good men up from the base. Then we started all over again and had a new company. And at the end of a month, we were ready to do it again. And this seems to me the strangest thing of all when I look back on it.